The Olympic Games, where the eyes of the world will turn to Tokyo for the greatest show on earth. Catch all the action leading up to the Olympic Games on Countdown to Tokyo every Tuesday on YourView. You'll get the latest news on preparations for the Games, details about the sports involved, and in-depth insights into teams, athletes, and the host city. Don't miss Countdown to Tokyo, Tuesdays on YourView.
Welcome to another episode of Left Coast Sports. My name is Jon Schaeffer, and today we'll continue our early season baseball conversation with Cesar Becerra. He covers the LA Dodgers, and the Dodgers, of course, the reigning World Series champions, off to the best start in baseball once again in 2021. In fact, they've been so dominant in the early season that some are speculating they could challenge the regular season wins record of 116 set by the Mariners back in 2001. Or could this be the year that the Dodgers' run at the top of the NL West comes to an end because of the up-and-coming San Diego Padres or even the Giants, a team that's also off to a fast start? We'll discuss all of that today as we continue our spin around the NL West here this April. Before we get started with today's episode, though, please give us an auto download on your podcast platform. You'll get future episodes automatically. Left Coast Sports is everywhere. We're all over the internet, Apple Podcasts, the free iHeartRadio app, YouTube, and Spotify. Please give us a review as well. We really appreciate the reviews. While you're here and listening, you can switch over to Twitter, at Jon Schaeffer on Twitter. That's at JONSCHAEFFER, at Jon Schaeffer. So could the Dodgers be even better than they were a year ago? Is there a SoCal rivalry brewing right now between the Dodgers and the Padres? All of that and more in today's conversation with Cesar Becerra. All right, Cesar, so in your opinion, who has more staying power in terms of competing with the Dodgers this year in the NL West? Is it the Padres or could it be the Giants?
No, yeah, it's still 100% the Padres. You can't really take their first 2 weeks of the season as a full season sample size. You know, what the Giants are doing right now, yeah, it is surprising to say the least, but you can't expect the Padres to be playing 500 baseball for the duration of the full season. And, you know, the Giants pitching has been somewhat of a surprise to start early, but you got to know at some point when they start facing tougher competition, their record will more likely regress.
What did you think of the series this past weekend, specifically the Dodgers-Padres series at Petco Park? It kind of felt like a postseason series. The Dodgers ultimately take 2 of 3. What was your reaction to what you saw on field this past week?
Yeah, it was fun, right? It was good to have baseball back. It was good to have the fans in there enjoying the game. It did give it that playoff vibe that we saw last full season, and you definitely see the hunger in the Padres, and you see that the Dodgers aren't going to go down quietly. You know, you still see that fight for the young team of the Padres, and you see the Dodgers veteran leadership kind of giving them that extra hump at the end of the day.
Were you surprised at all that the benches cleared? I mean, it wasn't, a full benches clearing situation, but Kershaw yelling at Profar. There was the situation in Game 1 with Mateo for San Diego. Did that surprise you at all or no?
No, not at all. I think we all kind of came with that expectation coming into this season, especially how the way the Padres season ended last year, getting swept, and, with that whole situation with Bruce Gratterall. We were expecting fireworks, and a lot of people further down Southern California are kind of calling this the new NL West rivalry, and some experts, across the league are talking about this may be the rivalry of baseball now. I think it's a little bit too premature to call it a rivalry right now, but certainly if there's any indications the last 2 series, including last postseason, the way they've been going, we can have a little fun Dodgers-Giants rivalry, or even Yankees-Red Sox rivalry.
Yeah, I mean, what would it take? I mean, for it to be something like Dodgers-Giants, Cubs-Cardinals, you mentioned Yankees-Red Sox. I mean, is it going to take the Padres beating the Dodgers in a postseason? Will it take the Padres winning a World Series? What do you think it would take for it to get to that level?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now the Dodgers be in position to repeat as NL West champions for potentially the 9th consecutive time. Until the Padres are able to knock them off the NL West title, then I think the Dodgers can start looking at them a little bit more as a rivalry. I don't think that the Dodgers are overlooking them by any means. I think you can tell that by the way Dave Roberts stacked up the rotation for the first series, throwing Kershaw, Buehler, and Bauer. So they basically went all in saying, hey, we saw that you were making moves this offseason. We're making moves, and we're still here, and we're not going anywhere.
How do you compare this year's team, I'm talking about the Dodgers specifically, to last year's team? I mean, we know they've added Trevor Bauer. What have you seen these first couple of weeks, and how do they differ from what happened last year, which was a world championship?
Yeah, I mean, as a Dodgers fan, it's really tough to be disappointed from what you've seen so far. After 18 games, you have the best record in baseball. You own the best run differential in baseball. You're nearly top 5 in every statistical category for the offense. Nearly top 5 in every pitching category, including ERA, and strikeouts. And, really what you wanted to see in the first coming weeks was what were these new Dodgers offseason acquisitions going to do. And you've gotten more than what you hoped for with Trevor Bauer. Seems like we've had a seamless transition with Zach McKinstry from Kike Hernandez. So, and, the addition of Corey Knebel out of the bullpen just seems to add on strength right there. So it's been pretty encouraging for Dodgers fans. It's tough to be disappointed at this point.
Were you surprised at all that the Dodgers ultimately, pulled the trigger on that Trevor Bauer deal, or no?
Oh yeah, 100%. You always hear, big market teams kind of being interested in the top free agents, but the Dodgers being really hesitant to pull the trigger on big name free agencies outside of Mookie Betts recently. You just thought it was kind of a long shot, right? Especially when you think about impending free agents like Walker Buehler, Corey Seager, and Cody Bellinger in the upcoming seasons. But I think that's the Dodgers mentality right now. They have a good farm system, they have a good team in place right now, and they want to keep what they have going. And I think that's telling by making this strong push to sign Bauer.
You mentioned the fact that the Dodgers are 14-4. The last handful of games, they haven't been scoring runs the way they were. I think it's 8 runs in their last 4 games, 13 combined hits in those 4 games. Is that any reason for concern, or just a small blip over the course of a long year?
Yeah, it's actually been 6 runs over the past 4 games.
Oh, wow.
And I think that just has to do with the amount of competition that they've been facing. I'll be first to say that the Dodgers probably got a relatively easy start to the season. They played the Rockies 7 times, and they did play the Nationals in I believe their first series back from their COVID issues. So that's 10 out of their 18 games against teams that were under 500. That's not to go ahead and say that what the Dodgers have done should be undermined. But, we did see when they played the Padres how things were a little bit tighter. Things were a little bit difficult to scrap by. And, even this past series with the Seattle Mariners, the Dodgers were only able to muster 1 run in their final game. And really, I think it was only 2 or 3 hits. So, I mean, I don't think it's a cause for concern. It's still the middle of April. So, we still got plenty of baseball to go.
What about the health of the team? And I think some of the offense maybe can be explained by not having Cody Bellinger. I know Betts has been in and out and just had the hit-by pitch in Seattle. Is there any reason for concern with the health of this Dodgers team? Or, again, is it only April and they should get these guys back healthy sometime soon?
Yeah, I definitely think there's always a concern, right? I always like to say that the best team, the only team that can beat the Dodgers might be the Dodgers themselves. But, if these first 18 games have been any indication, is that the Dodgers staff has been really well, really supportive. We've seen a lot of players like, Zach McKinstry come and make an impact for the team. And that allows them not to have to rush players like Cody Bellinger back, or make Max Muncy play every day, or force Gavin Lux into an everyday role. We see all these players stepping up, McKinstry, Rios, Matthew Beatty, or whatever the case may be. That's the thing about the organization. It's kind of not really next man up, but just kind of keep passing the baton and keep the momentum going.
Is it more impressive than the 14-4 start? I mean, without Bellinger, I know Gavin Lux has been out, Tony Gonsolin is out. I mean, if they do find their stride in terms of health, maybe they can play this baseball for a significant period of time this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think if anything, it tells how impressive the pitching staff has been.
Mm-hmm.
All 5 of their starters, Kershaw, Buehler, Bauer, Arias, and May, all have an ERA under 3. they've been dominant, and so for the opposing hitters, it's been a relief to get the starting pitcher out, and that also takes out a lot of pressure off the offense. So we're able to win those one-run games like they did in Seattle on Tuesday afternoon.
How important to the Dodgers' overall success is Kenley Jansen, who's gotten off to a very good start this year?
Yeah, then to the pleasant surprise of Dodgers fans, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they've been seeing, especially on Tuesday afternoon, his velocity, I think, hit 95 for the first time in 2 years. But yeah, I think Kenley Jansen's feeling the pressure. He's no longer guaranteed to close out every game, and the Dodgers have been pretty open. Well, Dave Roberts has been open about it, talking about how Corey Knebel has been pitching great. Had one hiccup with the Padres. They also have Brusar Gratterall, who has a bazooka for an arm. Jimmy Nelson's been pitching well. Blake Treinen's been pitching well. That's the thing. When you have such a well-rounded bullpen, you can't really set yourself up. There's no room for error. And I think Jackson's been feeling that pressure, and that's why, like Joe Davis likes to say, he's been pitching angry.
What's the ceiling on this team? I mean, could they legitimately threaten the all-time wins record?
Yeah, I mean, when you have your number 4 starter Julio Urias pitching, complete games, or not complete games, with 7 shutout innings with 10 strikeouts, and your 5th starter Dustin May, with an ERA under 3, it's kind of tough to question whether or not they can challenge that win record. Which what it'll come down to is motivation and health. Evidently, this team, they're in it for the long haul. So they built this team for October. They built it to win a championship. So if it comes to whether they have to extend their rotation to a 6-man rotation, we know that they have the arms to do it, and we know that Dave Roberts may be willing to do that to give their star pitchers some rest. And players.
Let's talk about this upcoming weekend because it's the Padres again. So it's San Diego for 7 of 9 for the Dodgers, 7 of 10 for the Padres. What are you most looking forward to seeing? 4 games at Dodger Stadium against these two teams.
Yeah, I mean, let's see how the Dodger fans bring back the energy. We heard a lot of "Beat LA" chants down in San Diego, and let's see how the Dodgers can reciprocate. The Dodger fans can reciprocate. We're still kind of expecting San Diego's best. I personally, what I took away from that Padres series was that Fernando Tatis Jr. is still not 100% healthy, and I think it showed a lot of gut for him to come back specifically for that series. I'm hoping that to see Fernando Tatis a little bit healthier, and I want to see the full version of these Padres, and I want to go on for a head-on collision.
You think an interesting storyline between these two teams is the Trevor Bauer, Manny Machado situation, where Machado has seemingly had Bauer's number at the plate. Is that something to keep an eye on this year?
I mean, yeah, of course. Yeah, Machado. The interesting thing about Machado is he seems to play the Dodgers with a chip on his shoulder, game in and game out. It's really difficult for me to kind of pinpoint why that is. Given that they did trade for him, and evidently, we didn't get the outcome that we wanted by losing in the World Series. But it seems like Machado has a personal vendetta with the Dodgers in general, not necessarily just Trevor Bauer. So that's something that I kind of always have fun with, kind of looking at when, the Dodgers play the Padres.
What did you think was a better catch? Betts the other night in San Diego, ending a game with a spectacular diving catch out there in center field, or Bellinger last year in Game 2 of the NLDS taking that home run away from Fernando Tatis?
Yeah, I mean, that Betts catch was really nice and insane, but in terms when you build up the moment, for everything that it meant, that Cody Bellinger catch to save the game, and especially given off of who it was, I think that might have been one of the best plays for the Dodgers season last year.
It was an unbelievable play, no question about it. Cesar, we appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us here at the start of baseball season.
All right, anytime, guys. Looking forward to the future.
Thanks again to Cesar for joining us today to talk about the Dodgers' fast start and the state of the NL West. The Dodgers have another huge series this weekend at home. They'll begin a 4-game set against the Padres at Dodger Stadium. And if this series is anything like the first one between these two teams, it could be must-watch baseball. If you haven't already, please subscribe and auto-download future episodes on whichever podcast platform you're listening to this podcast on. And again, please leave a review and follow me on Twitter at Jon Schaeffer. That's JONSCHAEFFER at Jon Schaeffer. For previous episodes or more information about Left Coast Sports, you can visit yourview.com. That's YURVIEW.com, yourview.com. Also, this reminder, the eyes of the world will turn to Tokyo for the Olympic Games this summer. Catch all the action leading up to the Olympic Games with Countdown to Tokyo every Tuesday on YourView. You'll get the latest news on preparations for the Games, details on the sports involved, and in-depth insights into the teams, athletes, and the host city. Don't miss Countdown to Tokyo, Tuesdays on YourView. Next week on Left Coast Sports, we'll continue our tour of West Coast baseball in this early season. Thanks for listening. We'll catch up next week right here on Left Coast Sports with Jon Schaeffer.
Let's go.
The Olympic Games, where the world's best athletes will compete on the most prestigious stage. Catch all the action leading up to the Olympic Games on Guide to the Games every Tuesday on YourView. The series examines the qualification process, the history of the Games, and the teams and athletes that are expected to shine, plus information about the rules, events, and competitors. Don't miss Guide to the Games, Tuesdays on YourView.